So we all think we know the story, right? A giant rock smacks into the earth and boom, no more dinosaurs. But what if I told you that's not the whole story? Not even close. What if the asteroid was just the opening act and the real killer was something way smaller, way weirder, and probably growing on that old piece of cheese in the back of your fridge? All right, let's just put it right out there. The asteroid, as absolutely catastrophic as it was, didn't directly kill off all the dinosaurs. No, it just set the stage for a planet-wide murder mystery. And today, we're going to unmask its very surprising accomplice. First up, let's meet our prime suspect. We're talking about a ginormous chunk of cosmic rock that, about 66 million years ago, decided that Earth was directly in its path. And folks, this kicked off what was, without a doubt, the single worst day in the history of life on this planet.
The scale of this is, well, it's just hard to wrap your head around. Picture a rock the size of Mount Everest, weighing trillions of tons, slamming into the planet right where Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula is today. The energy it released was so huge, it was like a mini sun, just ignited on the Earth's surface, instantly vaporizing everything for hundreds of miles.
Now, believe it or not, scientists still kind of debate what this thing actually was. Was it a classic asteroid, mostly rock and metal, or was it a comet, basically a dirty cosmic snowflake made of rock, metal, and ice? There's this one really cool theory that a comet got slingshotted by Jupiter's gravity, broke apart, and one of those pieces had our name on it. So now let's get to the real crime scene and see how the planet itself got turned into the murder weapon. Because that initial blast, phew, that was just the beginning. The real damage, the thing that changed everything, was the aftermath. Okay, so the impact basically threw millions of tons of pulverized rock and soot high into the atmosphere. It created this thick global blanket that just blocked out the sun. For at least 2 years, the planet was stuck in this dark, freezing impact winter. Temperatures plunged, and all that sulfur in the air mixed with water and came down as, you guessed it, acid rain. It was a total planetary blackout. And what happens next is this perfect, horrifying domino effect, right? Step 1, no sun. Step 2, that means no photosynthesis. Step 3, the plants and the plankton, the very bottom of the food chain, they all die. So then step 4, the herbivores who eat the plants, they starve. And finally, step 5, the carnivores who eat the herbivores, well, they starve too. It was a complete top-to-bottom collapse of the global food chain. And get this, it wasn't just the dinosaurs. 75%, 3/4 of all animal species on Earth were just gone. The basic rule of thumb was if you weighed more than about 55 pounds, say 25 kilograms, your chances of making it were pretty much zero. But here's the crazy twist. In this cold, dark, dying world, one form of life wasn't just hanging on. It was having the time of its life. An organism you would never expect saw this global graveyard and thought, you know what? This is my time to shine. I mean, the initial disaster killed a ton of animals, for sure. But lots of smaller reptiles actually survived the blast and the starvation. So what was it? What was the final nail in the coffin that finished them off while others somehow managed to pull through? The answer, in one word, is fungi. Molds, mushrooms, the things that are really good at breaking down dead stuff. In a world that was suddenly full of dead stuff, they hit the jackpot.
I mean, just think about it. What do fungi love? Dark, damp places with plenty of decaying things to eat. The post-impact world was basically a global all-you-can-eat buffet for them. And we can see it in the fossil record. There's this huge spike in fungal spores right after the impact. The whole planet was covered in a layer of mold and rot. So, why was this so terrible for the reptiles? Well, it all comes down to this word, ectothermic. You and I know it as cold-blooded. See, unlike us, reptiles can't make their own body heat. They need the sun to warm up. And that's not just for energy. It's absolutely critical for keeping their immune systems working. So with no sun, the reptiles that survived were always cold. Their metabolism slowed way down and their immune systems pretty much just shut off. They were sluggish, they were weak, and they were the perfect hosts for all these new fungal diseases. And even worse, their eggs, which they buried in the soil, were now sitting in cold, damp, fungus-infested ground. They were getting destroyed by spores before they even had a chance to hatch. And that brings us to our last chapter,
Let's look at how this fungal apocalypse accidentally paved the way for a totally different kind of animal. Yep, our own distant ancestors, to not just survive, but to eventually take over the entire planet.
This chart just lays it out so clearly. On one side, you've got mammals who are endothermic. We're warm-blooded. We're like little furnaces, always making our own heat. And that constant high body temperature, it's like a natural force field against most fungi. And while all those reptile eggs were rotting in the ground, mammal babies were safe and sound, developing inside their mother's warm bodies.
To put it simply, our ancestors were literally too hot for fungi to handle. Most of these fungal species just can't grow and thrive at a temperature around 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit or 37 Celsius. That internal furnace gave mammals this massive, life-saving edge in a world that was being overrun by deadly mold. Now, of course, mammals weren't the only winners. The small, feathered avian dinosaurs, which we just call birds today, they also made it. They were warm-blooded too, and because they were small, they didn't need as much food. Some turtles and crocodilians also found a way, mostly by sticking to the water. But it was really the small, burrowing mammals who were in the perfect spot for what came next. When the dust finally settled and the sun came back out, the world was a completely different place. The age of the giant reptiles? It was over. The stage was empty. And scurrying out from their burrows were our tiny furry ancestors ready to step into the spotlight and explode into the incredible variety of mammals we see today. Everything from bats to blue whales to, well, to us. So it really leaves you with this one last big thought. The Chicxulub impact was an unbelievable catastrophe. It was the deadliest day our planet has ever known. But without that asteroid and without the fungal apocalypse that followed it, the dinosaurs might have just kept on ruling the world. And without that, we almost certainly would not be here. So was it the ultimate tragedy, or was it the luckiest disaster in the history of the world?